Oh, great.
You ready?
I'm ready. You can pull it off, yeah. No. You're good.
Hello. It's working. Make sure our mics are working. Okay, great. We're Wildfire Safety Advocates of Waikoloa, and I'm so excited to see so many people here tonight. We're really, really thrilled to be putting on an evening like this. The first order of business, Waikoloa School would like us to remind everyone that this is a drug-free, smoke-free event. Thank you. And you should have received a handout, which quickly goes over the agenda that we have for this evening. I'm going to review the format that we'll use with the mayoral candidates first, and then Matt right here is going to introduce himself and our project with a very quick presentation to level set everybody about the information that we do have, specifically around the second road for Waikoloa Village. As a reminder, again, this is not a debate. We're hoping for engaging, helpful, wonderful conversation tonight between the community and the candidates. The candidates received these prepared questions that are on the back side of the agenda, the back side of the agenda. They received them ahead of time. We're going to start with those questions, and the candidates each have 4 minutes to respond, and we have a timekeeper back there to keep us honest because we got a little in the weeds last time we did this. And then we're going to move on to questions from you guys, from the community. So if you have a question, we have the sheets back there. You can find somebody in a red shirt and write your question down, and then you can give it to this gentleman right here in the white shirt who's going to be sorting through everything. For the audience questions, we're going to ask the candidates to keep it to 2 minutes. We're going to try to get through as much as we can, and our mayor has a hard stop at 7 p.m. So I've been told he's just going to have to leave even if we're not POW yet. So we're going to move through the questions quickly, and they've promised that they'll get to the meat of the responses. So yeah, that's it for me. Hand it off to Matt.
Right. Yep. Thank you, everyone, for coming again, and thank you both, Ms. Roth and Kimo Alameda. Thank you so much for coming. I know this is a thing we've been waiting a long time for, and making it an issue is what I have wanted. So I'm Matt Chalker. This is Wildfire Safety Advocates of Waikoloa. We started by trying to get a road, and in one moment, my wife is going to put up a map just to sort of level set and explain where we are. Okay, so right now we are in the school, which is right there. This is Waikoloa Village as a whole. We have 7,400 residents approximately in the village. We have 1,200 new housing units, mostly planned back here. That is not including the new ones that have already showed up around the plaza and the apartments. This is new, mostly at the back end of the village, back there. This right here is Hulu, and then the road that we're going to talk about a lot, we'll show it in a minute, is going to come out this way. This black right here, that is the currently graded area at the end of the village if you drive down to the skate park. Next slide, please. Okay, this growing population puts us at risk, obviously. You know, where there's a lot of us, we've got one road, we've got one emergency evacuation route, that is Hulu. This is the gate at the top of Hulu right there. Next slide. We've been evacuated twice in the last 20 years. 2005, a lot of people in the room probably experienced that. 2021, we experienced that as brand new parents. It was terrifying. It took people an hour to get to the main intersection at Paniolo and Waikoloa Road from where we're sitting right here. And this is a picture of that traffic jam right in front of the golf course. Thanks, Sherry Geronimo. I don't know if you're in the room, but thank you. And we do have a lot of, there's a long history. The road's been promised. Developers have committed to making an emergency egress route. It has already started work. There is grading that is out there. If you drive along the Queen K, you will look off to the Mauka section and you will find the road has been started right there. It's about a mile south of where the Puako entrance goes. Next slide. The issue is it is not a permanent solution. It is committed as just an emergency egress route, plus the development agreements say that no infrastructure improvements are required until 276 units have been built, sold, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not happening until after 276 units, which at the current pace is about 15 to 20 years. Right now, there are 5 frames that have been built and 78 lots graded. So that's what that's all about. And then this is what we're looking at. This is Hulu right here. This is the school. This is where the skate park is. And this is the wastewater treatment plant. If you look on Google Maps, there's a big square out in the middle of the fields. That's the wastewater treatment plant that services Paniolo Estates. The approximate route of the new emergency path is that. This is already an existing graded utility road where the power lines run down. So yeah, this is where we're at. This is what we're looking at. And what's next? Let's talk story. Let's figure it out. I thank both gentlemen for coming and talking to us and being here and being present. One more quick thing. We are streaming right now. Hello, if anyone is watching out there in the world, and we're recording it as well. This is courtesy of Julia Alos and the Waikoloa Resilience Hub. Once again, we are using Starlink, sending it up to the satellites and bouncing back down afterwards. So hello, world out there. And hopefully we'll get some views and some questions from there. So yeah, I'm going to pass it off to Aslan. And gentlemen, please come up. Can we move the thing?
Thank you, Matt. We have different speaking paces, him and I. So you two are going to share a mic, if that's okay. Awesome. And we're going to jump right in to these questions. I think we'll start with Kimo, if that's okay. You're sitting closest to me. And you'll each have a chance to respond to all questions. And don't forget our timer is right back there. She's a big sign. Waikoloa Village is highly vulnerable to wildfires. Oh, we got to turn them on. I'll give you mine if while he gets it. Waikoloa Village is highly vulnerable to wildfires. What are your top priorities for reducing fire hazards in our community? And how will you ensure effective coordination between agencies during future emergencies? Oh, man.
Sorry, I'll turn that down.
Test. All right. How much time?
4 minutes.
Oh, 4 minutes? Okay. Well, first, welcome everybody. Waikoloa. It's been a great opportunity to come here tonight. I had several talk stories here, and some of you I noticed from our talk stories. So I'm very, very happy to be here. Watching today's debriefing on the Lahaina fire, I took a special time off just to listen to it. It was very heartbreaking. And so right off the bat, condolences to all of those families in the Lahaina fire and other families who has perished from fire, and prayers to their families. It's a reminder of how important this meeting is, actually, and the good work that Firewise and the Waikoloa Village Association has been doing. So, mahalo plenty. There's a lot of things that we can do, and Mayoral and his team, have already been looking into some of those things. But yeah, on our team, I want to introduce Ty Medeiros, if you can raise your hand, Ty, and Bill Brahante. So Ty is a retired fire chief, assistant chief, and Bill Brahante is a retired HR director at the county. And we drove out together, and we were talking about a lot of things, but mostly about Waikoloa, right? Because we're having this meeting today, and yeah. So on our team we have advisors, right? And there's a lot of things that we can do right here. So fire breaks, right? Proper fire on mitigating, potential hazards around their home. Of course, that second road, super important. We even discussed other options if that road, like immediate options. Like one immediate option, we noticed that all of the roads, all the end roads, if there's a road on the perimeter that can be built out all the way to Waikoloa Road, that's another potential option. That's not even considered, or maybe it was considered, or I don't know what the drawbacks on that, but if there's any drawbacks on that, I'd like to know about it, because that's something that could also be added to the options. But yeah, got to make sure fire hydrants work. The department's got to collaborate, making sure that they're all on the same page. August 8th was an indication of a lot of things that we could do better. I went online. I don't know, Mitch, but we don't have a fire plan. There might be collaboration, but to me, if it's not written, then the collaboration didn't happen. It's like a psychologist. After I have a meeting with a client, if I don't take notes on that meeting, the meeting didn't happen. So if we don't have a plan, your collaboration is pretty much in vain. You have to have it written, and then you have to post it. Also, of course we need sirens. I was working with, I mean, that's one big issue that came up right off the bat. You know, and this whole thing about, oh, it's gonna happen next week. You know how much times I heard next week? Next week, the sirens I've heard next week, 7 months ago, next week. So I don't believe it until I see it. Okay, and that's how you're gonna have to treat this administration, or in the next administration. Don't believe it until you see it. All right, so there's a lot we can do to mitigate. You know, the Firewise put out, they have a great website. It's all there. Waikoloa Village Association has been providing briefings on it. James and Cindy was here last week talking about it. So, you know, I'm in it to win it. You guys deserve better. We cannot start the game in the fourth quarter. Game's almost over. I know there's some efforts now, but I think it's a little too late. So that's my position, and I'm sticking to it. All right, thank you, everybody.
Aloha, everybody. You know, it's great to be out here again. We've actually come out here several times, talked to this group about different things. We've had some conversations about some of these issues right here. You know, when you ask about the top priorities, I think our top priorities have really been about building and maintaining the partnerships that we have. We have a lot of partnerships that have helped us, for example, working with the state and, you know, Firewise and some other groups to build in some fire breaks. State DOT, we work with them. I think they did about 10 miles of fire breaks above Waikoloa Village. We also have, I believe, another $3 million looking at fire breaks for this area. That's, you know, the partnerships there are important. We have partnerships that we're trying to build up better as well as maintain with groups like Firewise. You know, we've been working with Firewise in different ways. One of the things that we're doing is in February, there is going to be a prevention seminar that is going to be put on with the fire department and the community. So they're working at bringing a whole bunch of people, not just from Waikoloa, but from around the island to work on things like that. We're proud of the partnerships that we built with some of our developers. You know, when you look at what's happened here in the last several years, it just didn't start in the fourth quarter. We've been working on this from the very beginning. We went to, you know, one of the main developers who was developing the property now where they've helped start putting in the emergency access road. That didn't just start a couple of months ago. That started a couple of years ago. After the first fire, we started talking to them about what can be done. So now they have committed to putting in an emergency access road. They do have to put in the road once they get to that certain limit. Those plans were set, I think, back in 2014. But in the meantime, they're working on doing that. We went to another developer, Ainalea, and we've been talking to them. They're looking at actually going out there and putting another full arterial road. You know, after the fires, one of the things that we've done is Hulu Street has now has chip seal on it. Before, when we had to bring people out in 2021, it was pretty much a dirt road. Now it's somewhat paved, a lot easier to get out. So we're not just working on one, we're trying to work on a couple of different things. As far as plans, there are plans, and they have been used. When you look at what happened on August 8th, Maui had fires, but we had fires. And I give a lot of credit to our fire department. I give a lot of credit to our civil defense. I give a lot of credit to the other partners that, you know, we had different results. We got lucky, I will say this, but I think there was a little bit more than luck. We have great preparation. We have great relationships with our partners. And I think, you know, Maui saw some of those things afterwards. Those partnerships, you know, didn't just start in this administration. You know, they started back in previous administrations, but we continue to improve on those partnerships. And so that's one of the things, when we look at priorities, we continue to do better. We recently brought FEMA out, and FEMA did a training with our civil defense, as well as a bunch of our partners. And one of the things that they said is, wow, you guys are some of the best coordinated in the country Does that mean that we're perfect? Absolutely not. There's still things that we need to do, and we're going to continue. No matter how good you are in this area, you have to continue to be better, and that's what we continue to do. Thank you.
Take the next one.
Thank you very much. A quick point of clarification. Our group is not Firewise. Firewise is part of a larger national organization, and we do have a Firewise committee here in Waikoloa that we work with, but we are primarily focused on a second access road for Waikoloa Village, and Firewise focuses a little bit more on defensible space for your home. So both wonderful organizations. The second question, and Mayor Roth, I'll have you start. The completion of a second access road for emergency evacuation is critical, but relies on private landowners and is one of several options to fulfill contractual obligations. Legally, the completion of the second road is not currently required. What will you do to secure a written commitment from these landowners, and what steps will you take if they do not fulfill their obligations?
About the emergency access road, because I've been asked several times by people in this area, we need you to get a commitment from them to build the emergency access road. Right now, they are doing it without any promises that we've made, anything that's holding them to that. If we force them to do that, then what you're going to see is you're going to see delays, you're going to see expenses on them, and you may not see the project. So, they may stop doing it because if you put other commitments that they have to do on something that they've agreed to do without the county having any agreements or, ties on there, that would slow down the project, basically. As far as the interior road, there is an agreement. They get to 276. That is a number, again, that was set prior to our administration. There are some different ways of holding them responsible. We're also, by the way, and I mentioned this just a little bit earlier, working with another developer on another access road out of Hulu Street. That one is a little bit different because we're kind of in the beginning of the stages of making the agreements, so we may be able to put something there. But as far as the access road now out of the back, I don't think it's wise of us to put obstacles in their way when they're doing the work right now. I think that's important for everybody to understand. Thank you.
Same question. Okay, so the issue I have with that is, it's my understanding that we had a groundbreaking. We got the governor to come, and a big event, right? Front page. We're going to have this access road, and I know owners that the access road would have gone through that got notified the night before. So first of all, now that you're taking this stance, Mitch, I get it. It's after the fact, but you surprised a lot of property owners who did not know about this potential road that would be going through their property. So that's number one. So you guys can rest assured that our administration will first work with the property owners, at least talk to them way in advance, bring them to the table, let them know, hey, this road is the best kind of road through your property. This is the potential impacts to your property that this road will probably, occur. What's your thoughts about it? Right? But right now, there's some bridges that's been burned, with some of these property owners. So when you say in your question, well, what you're going to do to get their commitment, this administration that would put our administration kind of at a disadvantage already. So we got to say sorry. We got to back up a little bit. And we're going to bring those property owners back to the table, the ones that weren't properly notified, and we got to let them know, hey, this is a potential option for us, and that's and then hopefully, right? Because you don't mention the C word, right? You don't say you will condemn your property, because then you're right, that's going to just go tied up in legalese. But so this administration got to engage. So what was that groundbreaking all about? To me, it was a political stunt. It was political to get the governor here, take pictures and say, now we're going to have this access road right after the Lahaina fire. You cannot play politics with people. Okay, that's just not, it's not cool. We wouldn't do that. it's called grandstanding, and this is not how our administration would operate. So we would engage those property owners, backtrack a little bit, apologize, and go from there. Thank you.
Mayor Roth, I didn't know if you wanted to respond to anything from Kimo's comments.
To the main property owners, and also, they went in and they reached out to some of the other property owners. We thought they reached out to all of them, including the Waikoloa Community Association. We learned on that last day, as we were breaking ground, that yes, there was one property owner, and I understand that's your campaign manager, that had an issue with us going over there. But this was not done prior to this was not done after Lahaina. This was set up for the year prior. So they've been working on this way before August 8th happened.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is about public funding for a second road. In order for any road project to receive state or federal funding, it must be included in the county's long-range transportation plan. The current plan does not include any roads in the Waikoloa region. Will you advocate for adding a second road out of Waikoloa Village to Hawaii County's long-range transportation plan, making it eligible for public money, and putting it on a timeline?
Oh, absolutely. There's 60% of roads that, communities that only have one way in, one way out, so we're talking statewide. So, but the communities like Waikoloa, that is an at-risk community, like that gotta be bumped out, so Waikoloa, Puako, Ka'u, Waimea, these places where get plenty wind, extreme heat, right? Those are, to me, high-risk areas. So our administration would definitely advocate for all high-risk areas to get on that transportation plan so that the state can acknowledge it and perhaps funding can flow that way. But also, I think this administration missed out on some opportunities, some funding opportunities. You guys remember the Biden's Build Back Better infrastructure grant opportunities that were put forth about maybe a year ago? When that thing came out, I was praying that this administration would take advantage of that and go apply for those grants. Those are infrastructural grants. Build Back Better is about roads. It's about schools, right? It's about water. It's about wastewater. And so, this administration, they have a grant writing opportunity under research and development, but I don't know if they're understaffed or what, but we gotta take advantage of these federal opportunities, and I think we missed that one. So, what can we say, right? You gotta be ready for those grant opportunities and go for it. Thank you.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We have applied for Build Back Better funds. We actually, I think, are receiving more grant funds now than we have in the past. A lot of the Build Back Better funds go through the state, and we have gotten a lot of state funds, especially for roadways. As far as the STIP, I believe federal funds are looking at 2027. They do it every 5 years, and so it's kind of timing when we put it on our plan to look at when we're going to get there. We have a list. The problem with the list that we have is that whenever you put something on, you have to take something off. And so a lot of those projects we're looking at are things that we are getting funded and are happening. As far as getting on the STIP, we will probably have these on, at least the arterial road will probably be there. Right now, though, it's being built by the private developer. By having the private developer build that road, it gets us a little bit closer to being shovel ready. Shovel ready is kind of an important thing when you're looking at grants. There are other funds available. We have been looking at other funds, but I've also been, talking to the governor. I've talked to Jill Takuda, Congresswoman Takuda. I've talked to some of our state legislators about doing this, because if you look at the cost of the road could be $25 to $50 million. And there's a couple of different ways that we can get those funds. One is we can do a bond for the county. Other ways is looking at the state to fund, or the federal government, or to have private funders fund it. Right now we're looking at private funders. We're also looking at federal funds that are available, as well as looking at state funds. and we are active in all of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is 2 questions. It's about prioritizing road projects. The county's 2045 general plan draft lists at least 7 road projects within Waikoloa, but there are no clear priorities. So 1, what factors do you look at to prioritize infrastructure projects given the county's limited resources? And 2, what actions will you take to secure the necessary funding for a second road in Waikoloa?
We look at a whole bunch of different things. One, of course, the absolute safety needs. This definitely comes up as a safety need. And so it is in that area. The 3 roads, one of the 3 roads is that our Taylor Road, one of the roads is going out to Kauai High, and the other one, I think, is down Hulu Street on the plan. So those are actually in our general plan, things that we're looking at doing. As far as putting it on our list for the STIP and prioritization, that will probably happen next year or the year after, because 27 is the year that we're looking at for there. The other things we look at is what's going on with the road, the quality of the roads that we have. When I say that, are there reasons that the roads need to be changed, the amount of traffic. So there's a whole bunch of different things that we look at. And if you look at what the county's done, we've actually done quite a bit of road paving and road repairs. We've actually doubled the amount of the roads that we've paved since taking office. And as you come down Waikoloa Road, we have that partnership with the State Department of Transportation. The Waikoloa Road is being paved for the very first time. So you're actually seeing a lot of projects out in this area. The fact that we've chip sealed Hula, the emergency exit there, that was one of the things we did, and now we're working on the emergency access road. Thank you.
I mean, some of it is ditto what Mitch said, but I think some immediate things we could do really is, so Hulu, we were talking about it too. It's like you need some pull out options. Every 100 yards, a pull out option. Because if a car gets stuck there, you're stuck. It's just what happened with Lime. And that can be done immediately. And my advisors are telling me, my assistant fire chief, he said, Kimo, every 100 yards, pull out option, pull out option, pull out option. Because we got to be ready for tomorrow, the fire. This is not something that we will be preparing for, right? It can happen anytime. So we need an access road now. And yeah, we have Hulu, but to me, it's a fast one. Just some pull-out options all the way down to the end, just in case. That's a priority. And we could do that immediately. Thank you.
Thank you both. Last question. With a growing population and increasing development, what infrastructure improvements are critical to ensure Waikoloa Village can safely handle emergencies like wildfires? And will you support making future development in the village conditional on the completion of a second road? And Kima, I'll have you start this one.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, a second egress out of Waikoloa is super important, right? This is what this whole forum is about. And so we got to continue to press forward on that. And I'm glad that you called your organization basically the second road. Make that the title, puts emphasis on it. That's good. But there's other things we can do too. We can make sure that the collaboration between departments is solid. You get the CERT teams, you get civil defense, you get the Department of Wildlife, Forestry and Wildlife, you get the water departments, you get the 3 fire stations that, substations. So I don't know, Mitch would know, but it's suspect if there are really collaborating, I don't know. Doesn't feel like it. So,
You have more time. I just want to make sure. The second part of the question was, will you support making future development in the village conditional on the completion of a second road?
Well, I don't know what's already being developed, right? So that we may have crossed that bridge already. So what I'm hearing is there's 5 homes already, and there's 267 more need to be built in order to have that. So are you saying you're going to stop construction until, looks like the developer, or it would be nice if the developer, if we agree on the second road and then they continue the housing, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I think the train has left the station already. So, development's happening. It's happening here. It's happening across the street. But yeah, I would support bringing the developers together and say, hey, slow down, right? But, right? I mean, didn't we learn from Lahaina to try wait? It's the local verbiage. Let's see what we can do first to make sure that Hulu, if that's the only, escape route, that there is pull-out options. That our departments all working together, that we have a plan, that there's strong mitigation. Like there's some properties, when I cruise the village, there's some properties overgrown. That property owner got to be contacted. Those shrubs got to be down. I mean, you get the goats, but the goats also provide another issue too, safety, when you're walking up and down the street. So there's a lot of issues in Waikoloa. That siren, it better happen next week. Okay, I'm the kind of mayor that if it doesn't happen, me and Tommy is going to have a good talk story. Don't ever make a promise you cannot fulfill, because you lose credibility. And that's why our administration only get 2 promises. One is we promise to work super hard, and I promise to get a team that can match my work ethic, because I'm not afraid of work, and I'm an action guy. And the second promise is not to make any more promises. Okay, because that's where you lose credibility with the community. All right, and so yeah, we're gonna work super hard. Remember now, the mayor is one decision maker. We gotta go get 9 county council members to agree as well. I don't know what they're thinking. So I'm very realistic. And when I approach every community, our administration will be very realistic. We manage expectations so that we don't overpromise and underdeliver. And so that's really important. And I think this administration had overpromised. And the reason that you folks are here, I think, is because they underdelivered. Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, our administration didn't create this mess. We inherited this mess. And not only over here for the infrastructure, throughout the whole island, we inherited issues with infrastructure. We inherited infrastructure issues with roads. We inherited infrastructure with parks. We inherited infrastructure issues with wastewater. And so, I've heard Kimo say numerous times, if I was here, we would get this done. Well, if you're getting these things done, and this came up in Puna, I'd get it done within 10 years. If not done, the county should pay for it. Well, just Puna infrastructure for wastewater is between $4 and $14 billion with a B. That means if the county's going to do it, we'd have to raise your taxes, not double it, not triple it, quadruple, maybe even 5-6 times your taxes. And if I was to ask any of you, would you like your taxes doubled? I'm pretty sure most of you would say no. So, we've been working on getting more funds, and the county has more funds. Right now, we have our best bond rating ever. As far as the infrastructure and building, here's another thing that we kind of inherited. The properties that are building, most of those properties have been entitled already, prior to our administration. That means that if you're going to say you can't build, then there's a legal issue of a taking, constitutional taking. So, we don't want to get the county in legal problems for fights we know we can't win. 2 other things. I heard Kimo talk a couple of times about the sirens. The sirens are the state's sirens. They install the sirens. They buy the sirens, they install them, and we've been fighting with them, and I see Julie over there. Julie knows because she's been in some of these arguments for the last couple of years, not just since Lahaina fires, but we've been working on this for a while, and we've been trying to push the state. You saw in Lahaina, the civil defense director said, we don't need sirens for areas not by the ocean. So that's now changed. We had to go to fight with the governor, and then Haima said, well, maybe we've got to do something else. But they're back on track, and I understand they have a contractor that is now on board, the electrician, so hopefully that will happen relatively soon. But it's not the county doing it. People have to understand that's under the state. The other thing, the collaborations, we have great collaborations. I'm glad Kimo mentioned CERT, which is the Citizens Emergency Response Teams, which is something that I helped bring to this island about 20 years ago. And they are working, as well as our fire department, as well as civil defense, as well as other groups in our county that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. We're going to move on to audience questions. This one's a long one. And for anyone who was at our county council event last month, this is referencing a story that we heard at that talk story. So first, some background. At the council member candidate talk story, Cindy Evans told us that about 20 years ago, an emergency proclamation was used to try to get a second road out of Waikoloa Village. She advised that had the effort been successful, the proclamation would have fast-tracked the project and the road would have been quickly completed. That effort, according to Cindy, got within a single signature of succeeding, but the head of the DLNR at that time told Governor Linda Lingle not to sign it. In the 20 years since, there have been 2 evacuations and multiple other times where fires came close to the village, but no further attempts have been made at using an emergency proclamation. Question: what would you consider using an emergency proclamation, would you consider using an emergency proclamation to fast track a second road for Waikoloa Village? Why or why not?
So, as a mayor, I have limited things that I can have emergency proclamation powers over. For example, state laws, I may not have the powers to bypass the State of Hawaii historic preservation. I probably don't have the powers to bypass land use planning. I probably don't have the powers to do a couple of other things under the state. Generally, when you have an emergency proclamation, the time period is short. You know, back in the lava flows, we had lava that was coming down. We did not know when it was going to stop, but it wasn't going to stop anytime soon. Mayor Kanoi was able to do an emergency proclamation at that time because the emergency was happening. By the time a fire is out, and it's usually a day or 2, it's not enough time to build that road all the way down. The emergency proclamation I believe Cindy was talking about was on the desk of the governor. The governor has powers over state laws that would probably need to be gone through for that purpose. So for a fire, I don't know. If we had Mauna Loa happening, that may be a possibility of creating an emergency proclamation to get there because half of the community could be cut off.
Yeah. That's a great question. So our attorneys on our team, you know, what they shared with us regarding the emergency proclamation, because we did have that discussion, was that you got to show imminent threat. You know, so that's the key word, imminent threat. Okay, so that's how we were able to get the Kanoi administration to have an emergency proclamation, because the lava was coming. That was imminent threat. So what is imminent? Immediate threat. So if we can show evidence of conditions in Waikoloa that kind of raises the bar to imminent threat, then maybe. But that's going to be an attorney discussion. And our team, we have that expertise. So, and we have it now. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. What advice would you give to our county council representative candidates to help them work most effectively with you, your office, and administration as they work to tackle our important issues?
So for this district would be James or Cindy, right? So, yeah, so that's one of my strong points. You know, I know the county council members. You know, most of them we have previous relationships because we work together on different projects. And I feel like like my relationships with the 9 county council members are strong, and you need that strong relationship. Like I said earlier, it takes 10 people to make one decision in the county. So I would continue to foster that relationship, and you got to do it by having meetings. So we have an open door. We would have an open door policy. We had this question in a couple of debates ago, and Mitch said that his door is always open. They can come. But what I wanted to share with Mitch is that it's not that they can come, it's that you gotta go there sometimes. Like you gotta go to their office sometimes. Just to say that, you can come anytime, and if you don't like come, well, that's your problem. No, it's like we'll come to visit you, right? And make it a point. Have that monthly meeting with each county council member. Find out what's your top priority, right? Because they know that area probably better than we do. So you gotta establish that relationship. And this current administration does not have a good relationship with the county council. I've worked under Mayors Billy Kinoy and Mayor Harry Kim, and I don't remember one time when a veto was overridden. This administration, 4 vetoes overridden. Okay? That means they're not getting along. Also, boards and commissions. I think unprecedented. When the mayor's office proposes a commissioner, county council shut them down. That tells me they're not getting along. And if you cannot get along with the county council as the mayor's office, you're in trouble. Our administration will work really hard to get along with the county council, and we already have good relationships from now on. So we're proud of that. Thank you.
We actually have a pretty good relationship, and just because they override a veto, part of it you have to understand what those vetoes were. Some of those were legal decisions saying the county shouldn't do that. I have, court counsel review all those laws. They tell me you shouldn't do it. We put it out. I have to protect the county as the mayor. And so, they have overridden vetoes, and they've voted down some people. But that doesn't mean we don't have a good relationship. One of the things that we started doing, and I think I'm the very first mayor to do this, is that we've set up meetings with all council members on a regular basis. We have meeting dates, we have times, but then we meet them outside. There's all sorts of times where we're talking to them about different things. We just had something this weekend where I was with 3 or 4 of the council members. We were talking about different things at that time. So, we have been out there talking, and I see Cindy back there. She knows she has these meetings with me. And, one of the things we also did is our budget. Prior to our administration coming in, we'd meet with our different departments, and the council was not part of those meetings. They weren't invited to any of those meetings. We make it available for them to come in to see what each department is going through. Now, we don't have everybody in each of those. They choose, and some of them choose not to come, some of them choose to come. But I think there are conversations on a regular basis, and I think, that kind of thing needs to keep on continuing to happen.
Thank you very much. The next question is actually about the Paniolo-Waikoloa Road intersection. It's been 2.5 years with nothing but maps. Is the traffic circle decision final, or can a light be put in? And what interim solution can be done while we wait for a final solution?
So my understanding is the traffic circle was a decision that also started about 20 years ago. The discussion started on that. And we said, look, we need to make a decision on this matter. We went out to the community. We've had several meetings with the community involved, and a decision has been made. I think they're going through the EIS or the EAs to do that. I think there's also some land that we have to acquire, and so we are working towards that. They put out some, what are they called, speed tables to slow the traffic down. But I think that's something that the community and the engineers have gone over and over again.
Thank you, Mitch. Sorry, this is my common sense thinking, right? I drive down that road at least once a week on my way to Kona or to Waikoloa, and driving down again, and I had to share it with my advisors, and I just said, you know, how come there's so much space on the right side coming down? Why not do one forced right turn on the right side, plenty of space on coming up, forced right turn? That would alleviate the traffic already turning right. Like, that seems like a simple solution. Sometimes you get too much engineers involved, they forget the easy solution is right there. At least for now, right? And then, because then all you're worried about is the left turn. Because there's so much traffic already turning right. And there's space there already. So that, I don't understand. Somebody got to help me with that. But yeah, a light for now. I mean, there's so much options. It's just political will, you folks. That's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, I'm sorry, this is from Mayor Roth. As it stands today, when do you expect the road to be built?
So the emergency access road should be built within this year. I understand that they've started working on there. Not by the end of December, but within the year it should be built. As far as the arterial road, I'm hoping in the next 5 to 7 years that it will be built.
So you're talking about Hulu? Or you're talking about Kamakanui? Kamakanui.
When we say the road or a road, we mean a 2-lane dedicated second access road for the village.
You want to re-answer? No?
We kind of said it at the end,
Yeah.
5 to 7 years.
Oh, okay. So what's going to be finished in the 1 year then? I'm just curious.
Emergency access road.
Emergency access dirt road, I think.
The Hulu road?
No, Hulu's already chip sealed and paved. By the way, we're trying to get 2 lanes on Hulu, but I think we have to go through an EIS. One of the things when government does work, we have additional things. It's an EA, which is an environmental assessment, versus the EIS, which is a lot more. As far as the emergency access road, I understand that's going to be chip sealed as well, not a dirt road. And that should take, they were saying, about a year.
Okay. Well,
Next question is
sounds good to me. I mean, as long as it happens, right? Don't make a promise you cannot fulfill, remember?
Next question is for both of you. Kimo, you can start. What is the criteria to get a police substation in Waikoloa Village?
Yeah, and we're talking about that too. So, my advisor here was retired. He used to work at that fire station across the street. And it's kind of tight, but there's a possibility, you know, because having that police substation down by Mauna Lani, you know, it's just too far to come up. You know, it's just, you're talking about police, right? Yeah, it's just it's too far to come up. So maybe a substation, they could have one right here with the fire folks.
I think are you talking about the fire station on Puako? Or on, I'm sorry, on Ka'ahumanu?
No, the one,
The question was police.
yeah, the question was police,
Okay.
yeah. So a police because the closest substation is not even here. It's not even, it's in, what, there's one in Waimea?
Waimea.
Yeah, oh, okay.
And then Kona.
Oh, yeah, so that's even worse then, yeah. So we need a substation. I think we could share one right here with the fire folks. And, you know, it's just, again, talking to the fire chief and making room. I mean, Kohala has a very small space, that substation, so I know it's possible. Because if you have criminal activity, you know, it's coming from Waimea, that's not an immediate response. So.
Yeah. So you're talking about a station versus a community police station, because I believe we used to have a community police substation over at the golf course. And the problem with that was the officers weren't really utilizing that, and I think that's why they stopped using that. Putting a full-fledged substation would require, you know, a couple of things. One, you'd have to budget it in, and you're probably talking, depending on the size, maybe $10, $15 million just to build a building. That's unfortunately what we're seeing oftentimes when counties building buildings, or it's the government's building buildings, we go through a lot more than the regular citizens. If you're talking about a small house kind of size, of course that could bring it down, but it will depend on how big you need to do that and have to go on the list of different projects. And there's a lot of projects right now on that list.
Thank you very much. The next question, can the county require electric lines to be underground to eliminate the need for HECO preemptively shutting off power?
You know, that's a little bit of a stumper. I'd like to say I don't know, but it probably, through council, if council was to make a ordinance, we could probably require all future power lines to go underground. I'm not sure if you can do it backwards and require all those lines to be dug up, all the ground to be dug up where you already have the power lines.
Yeah, so I have colleagues that work HELCO, and we've had this discussion too, for safety reasons, but also aesthetic reasons too. It looks better if it's underground, you know, and wires hanging all on the top, but super expensive. And then you need, you got to go get cultural impact assessments, and you know, so it's not impossible, but that would be ideal. We definitely could look into that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question, also for both of you, so Kimo, if you want to start. Are there plans to add an east side landfill instead of hauling everything to this side?
So yeah, about 100 to 200,000 tons or some crazy amount that's been shipped on to this side. It's like a lot of rubbish, right? So I mean, Mitch would know because he's currently the mayor, and I'd like to know too if there's plans to have another landfill in Hilo, or because you know, this landfill, what I understand is you know, good for 30 years, and with rubbish, you know, you could do three things. You could barge it, you could burn it, or you could bury it. You know, and we may have to consider the burning option, especially if we can increase technology so that we reduce the carbon emissions. Like that sooner or later has to be an option, I think, because burying it also hurts our environment, you know, because you're burying it. There's toxins, and so we definitely, you know, that should be a top priority of this administration. Definitely be a top priority of our administration. That and wastewater. Thank you.
Yeah, this is something we've looked a lot into. You know, the current landfill is in Keokaha. Keokaha is on Hawaiian homelands, and they seem to get everything over there. Not by our administration, it was done previous, but they get the landfill that got filled up, they got the wastewater, they got a whole bunch of other things that impact their environment. The likelihood of us building another landfill on this island, I think, is pretty minimal. Kimo kind of mentioned some of those things. We are looking at different options. We have also looked at the barging option. There's some issues with doing that, Department of Health, the amount of rubbish that we'd be able to send. And then the other one is waste to energy. And it's not just burning. There's a couple of different options there. And we did a request for information last year. We have some ideas that have come back. We're in the process of releasing an RFP, a request for proposals. And so we're hoping to see something come up on the Hilo side of the island for a solid waste alternative.
Thank you very much. Mayor Roth, this question is for you, and it's very specific. Who in the mayor's staff is looking at grants? How many employees? Why aren't they applying for grants?
So first off, we are applying for grants. We're getting grants, and a lot of it is focused at the research and development department. There's several people that are working in there, but then each of the departments also has people that are working on grants. And so, you know, when Kimo says we're not getting grants, we're getting more grants than we got in the past. So we are getting grants. And we do have people in research and development and other departments that have also been writing grants.
Thank you very much. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry, and we want to put out one final call for questions from the audience, so I would say if you have anything else, please be sure to write it down and give it to Glenn right here. Chemo, what do you think about utilizing controlled burns to manage the invasive fuel load, a common and regulated practice on the West Coast?
Yeah, we talked about that as well. I think we should explore that. It's something that has shown to work in other areas. So, yeah, I mean, our administration, you know, we got experts on our team already. We've talked about that and other mitigation type of strategies. Like we think there should be a reservoir somewhere here as well, which doesn't seem to, I don't think you folks have one, you know. So there's a lot we could do. I think the firefighters should also be trained as inspectors, so they can keep an eye on potential hazards, you know, while they're out there. There's so much that I think we can do. We just got to make the time to and put it as a priority. Thank you.
Did you want to take that question? It was about controlled burns.
Yeah, you know, that's something we've also looked at and discussed. You know, there's a lot of indigenous practices that go around with the controlled burns, but there's some different things that happen, especially in this area with the high winds and the possibilities of things getting out of hand. So it is something that we have looked at and we have discussed.
Thank you very much. Next question. What are the requirements for the private landowners who own the land above the village to manage the grass?
Requirements.
Mayor, you can go first.
Specifically, the landowners, I guess there's a couple of different landowners up there. There's some large corporations. I think the state has some of those lands. And there are some laws that deal with making sure that you're not creating a hazardous condition. Recently, we've been actually going after those guys a little bit more. We have some fire inspectors that have been contacting. One of the things that happened in the Maui fires, I think Bishop Estates just entered into a settlement. So there's also some civil penalties if there's a fire that comes from there.
Yeah, again, so we have, on our team, it's very diverse. So we have supporters that work in public works. And we're talking a little bit about, there was a time, and I don't know if it's still on the books, but public works would go around, right? Identify these homes that, shrubs are not within 25 feet and, potentially hazards or in the other person's property. And they go do an estimate and they tell the owner, hey, this is how much it'll cost to, and this is the potential, options on the people who can mitigate it if they can. And then give them some time. And if they don't do it, then Public Works will do it and send them the bill. But something has to be done. I would revisit that possibility, see if it's still on the books. But that's the kind of intervention that the county would need to work with those property owners. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. This one is not about roads. Rental housing is still being reduced by off-island people buying homes they don't live in. Would you consider raising property taxes on non-resident owners? And I think Mayor Roth will go first because whatever.
Yeah, so that is something that is being considered right now at council. I think they've got some bills. I know that they're going through the short-term vacation rental, but I've also heard that part of what they're looking at is raising those kinds of taxes. We already have on the books some elevated taxes for people who own second homes that are worth more than $2 million. So we have those already. We use a lot of those funds for the homeless initiatives that we're working on. So I think it is something possible. I think it is something we probably support if they're not renting to people who live here, especially, or if they're not, I think that's the main thing, if they're not renting to our local families.
Yeah, I agree. But in addition, I'd also crack down on those illegal vacation rentals because that takes up a large part of our rental market as well. And I would limit the vacation rentals in some way because a short-term vacation rental is 30 days and below, right? And if it's not regulated, then it'll pop up all over the place. And then we'll have people in our communities that we have no clue who they are, right? We don't do background checks on people who stay in our, short-term vacation rentals. They're cruising the streets, right? It messes up the fabric of our community. So, if we're going to do it, which there's a lot of legal short-term vacation rentals, then we should also look at maybe putting a cap on it or a time limit, because the rental market is reduced when all of these options are for the outsider, and that's what's hurting our local folks, and that's why we're being priced out of paradise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is actually about Kauai. Are there plans for a Kauai subdivision emergency road?
I have no idea.
The recent fires, we looked at this issue. Part of that is it's DHHL lands, Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and so we've had some conversations with them. They've actually started working on clearing some brush as well, but we've also had conversations about the possibility of creating some emergency access roads out of there as well.
So the rest of the questions, they're things that we've already covered. So what we're going to do now is we're going to allow each of you 2 or 3 minutes to give a closing statement to our audience and to the community. And we want to thank you so much for coming.
Take it away.
Go ahead, Kimo. I went first.
All right, well, so just so you know, Mitch and I are friends. We know each other maybe about 15 years now. We're participating on panels together. He was at the prosecutor, I was at the County Office of Aging. And maybe 80% of you kind of made up your mind on who you're going to vote for already. I'm guessing. I hope it's less, because I want our administration to be that option for you folks. Like I said, I think Mayor Roth and his team has done the best they could with what they got in 4 years. But this 8 years is tough. I'm a track coach. The analogy I use is 8 laps around right. I just don't think this administration can go another 4 with the same energy and vitality. And you need condition to finish this race. So it's not like we would stop any project that's working well. In fact, we would accelerate it, right? I think we would work better with the county council. If there's a project that has died or that's somehow slow, believe me, we would accelerate it. Okay, we would inject some hope into it. All right, because that's what we need. We need energy. And you give this administration a free ride in their election. What's the promise that they're not going to go back and spend the next 3 years doing very little? Our administration will work hard right from the start. And so all I'm asking this administration is just to pass the baton. We're on the same team, Mitch, right? Your people, my people, we work together, okay? We can finish this race strong. Right now, we're losing the race. We're losing our families to other states. We're losing the hope that our families have in government, right? I worry about our children. I worry about our parents. They're struggling too. It's hard to raise kids nowadays, okay? We have the energy to advocate for better schools. I'm an educator, I'm a psychologist. There's a mental health crisis right now. There's an addiction crisis. You need a mayor who can be that mental health champion, okay, that has the energy to push forward and to finish this race strong. We have the energy. We're on the same team. Just pass the baton. Let us finish strong. Let us win for Waikoloa. Thank you.
So, my mom, when I was growing up, she said, always leave a place better than the way you found it. And I can tell you right now, we are in much better condition than when we found this county. If you think about, when we came into office, the question was, are you going to be able to survive financially? We have our best bond rating ever. If you look at the projects that we've worked on just in Waikoloa Village, and then compare to what has happened in the past, we have now, as we ride down Waikoloa Road, that road is now from the top to the bottom being paved. You look at the park, we started working on the park. When we came in, the Kamakui Park back here, it was weeds. That park is being worked on. You look at Hulu Street. Hulu Street was a dirt road. It's now being paved. We're working on other projects inside this Waikoloa village that haven't been worked on for several years. You know, the road that you guys are so interested in, you know, we wouldn't have that emergency access road being built right now if our administration hadn't started working on it. And I don't think you would have the arterial road that I believe will come in 5 to 7 years if we didn't start working on it. You look at the roads around the county, because this is a big county. We've doubled the amount of roads that, you know, we started off with. You look at our transportation better than when we came in. What people don't understand is to do a lot of the work in government, it takes time. You have to go through not just the county, you have state obstacles, whether we're talking about land use, whether we're talking about SHPD, whether we're talking about water, whether we're talking, there's so many different things. When we came in, there was very little that was being worked on. Now there is a lot. The snowball has been growing. You know, Kimo likes to talk about, you know, the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter starts, you know, before the first quarter. It starts, you know, in practice, and we've been moving the ball is going forward. If you stop and change horses, you have to get a whole new set of directors. Those directors need to go through the learning process of, you know, what's going on in their departments. Progress halts when you have change. That's why you need to keep on going. We're making steady progress throughout the county, and I recommend that you keep on going that way, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Thank you for your time and taking our questions. And if it is okay with both of you, if you don't mind staying for a little bit and talking story, if anyone else has questions. And as a reminder, we're Wildfire Safety Advocates of Waikoloa. We meet the first Wednesday of every month, and this is all we talk about. And we would love for you to attend our meetings. Our next one will be in November in the Waikoloa Village Community Room. We're done with the school now, so we'd love to see you there. And thank you all so much.